Good afternoon, Abhishek.
Good afternoon, Vince. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Abhishek, I know you're very busy, so thank you very much for giving me some time today to talk specifically about e-commerce.
Most welcome. I think it's the hot topic these days, and everybody's talking about digital and e-commerce. So yes,
You're absolutely right.
Thank you very much.
And if you followed some of the previous interviews I've done, that's what everybody, particularly in retail, but in every field, that's what everybody's talking about. So listen, I'm going to introduce you very briefly, and then we'll go right into the subject of the matter, which is really to try to demystify e-com a little bit. So Abhishek, you're currently the head of e-commerce for a company in the apparel business in the Middle East. You have over 20 years of experience in e-com, general management, marketing, and you were also, and I would say you're still an entrepreneur, and earlier in your career, you founded a company in India that was a pioneer in the online shoe marketplace. And if I may say a few words, my understanding of that is that you kind of aggregated small manufacturers and bypassed the distributor. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we had the opportunity way back in 2010 to create India's first and the largest footwear marketplace. And the model was that we aggregated a lot of small scale manufacturers and listed their products online on our site and on the other big sites, enabling them to sell directly to consumers. So it was a win-win. And for both the small scale manufacturers and for the consumers, because the profitability was more and the pricing was more aggressive, because the middlemen do a lot of markup and that just disappeared. I've been working in this space specifically for the smaller groups, the smaller manufacturers or the smaller retailers, specifically in terms of access to e-commerce, digital, and how they can come online. In these times, it is even more relevant for them to be available to consumers.
And listen, I think that's very clear that you're a bit of a pioneer in this space in India, and so you have probably, relative to a lot of people in e-commerce, quite a bit of experience, certainly in that part of the world. Now, you and I met when you were working as the head of Adidas e-commerce, first in India, and then for the entire, essentially, what they call emerging markets, which is the Middle Eastern region. And Africa. So perhaps, Abhishek, we could start today by talking just a little bit about, you're now coming out of the pandemic in Dubai and that part of the world. What has been going on in terms of e-commerce, both during the pandemic and as you now shift out of the pandemic?
So what has been happening in the Middle East has been kind of mirroring what has been happening in the rest of the world in terms of the lockdowns. Various cities, various countries have been moving in and out of lockdowns. And what did not at any point got stopped was e-commerce in all these markets, right? Yeah. Which was pretty different from, let's say, other regions, maybe like in India, which stopped e-commerce also completely. And as a result of this whole lockdown, what has happened is a change, a significant, decisive paradigm shift, if I might say, in consumer behavior. Instead of them going to the stores, they want the stores to come to them.
Right.
What moved very quickly during these times and was not there before, like, for example, online grocery shopping. A lot of big grocers came online because no one could go out and do grocery shopping. Then there was food delivery, which really boomed because the restaurants were closed. They were only allowed to offer their meals to the food delivery partners. What moved, like fitness equipment or home equipment, because people were staying at home. So the consumers' preferences changed towards getting home deliveries, which is possible only through e-commerce, and their desire for these products did not diminish in any way.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture of convenience and who can cater to this demand very, very quickly. All in all, there was a big upswing in e-commerce in the region, as it was the only lifeline during this long period of lockdown, and which prompted the companies to really take notice on what they were doing in this space and how fast and how quickly they could get onto this bandwagon.
So to that end, Abhishek, and I think maybe talking about companies that are just new to e-commerce or just starting, and part of what we want to do today is a bit demystify the complexity of e-commerce. If you're trying to get into that space, you're obviously late to the party. What are some of the simple things that companies can do to really ramp up their e-commerce capabilities?
I think very nicely put, this is the demand and need of the time. And however, digital transformation has always been on the agenda of large corporates. But they were kind of going ahead at a pace which kind of suited them. The only people who were left out of this change was the neighborhood stores, a neighborhood grocer, a restaurant, maybe a fruit shop. And they were totally taken by surprise, and they had no means of getting their products to the consumers. So if we talk about how do you get online, I think the easiest way is to start selling your wares, merchandise, products on biggies like the Amazon in the region as a marketplace. But that has its disadvantages. One, it's not easy for everyone to get on board, especially if you are a smaller seller. All categories are not supported, like medical devices. A lot of people had need for specialist medical devices, which are not available in chemist shops. They had no access to them. And then the most important thing is that how would you cater to a specific segment and know about that segment and know about that customers? If you're a neighborhood fruit shop and you specialize in certain products and your catchment area is only that specific neighborhood, how do you do that? So the answer to that is having your own stores or your own e-com presence online. So it's a twofold strategy, which everyone I think should be in for. If you can sell merchandise as a marketplace and manage that well, then definitely the biggies is the answer. But otherwise, there are multiple ways of being online, being digital, and catering to your customer segment. So sorry.
No, sorry, I think you were going there. That brings me to the next question, which is, I think, again, if you're a mom and pop shop or if you're a small store and you're saying, oh, I have to establish an e-commerce presence, that's going to be complicated, that's going to be difficult. What are some of those common myths and what are easy solutions for people to do that, to get online and to be able to sell?
So to simplify e-commerce, and it is a business about consumers and service, just two big elements to it. And when I say consumers, it is about reaching your consumers, knowing their preferences and catering to it. And when I say service, it is about delivering the products, making sure that the service level is good, you deliver properly, you can give returns, refunds, and do the needful. The big myth is that it is very, very expensive to do it. And in fact, a lot of people ask me the question, where do I even start? I want to get online. I want to talk to my consumers. How do I even start the process? Normally, there are a lot of organizations who offer third-party services. I can get you online and your store will be up and running. But then that is a very expensive proposition. So my thing is, why I call it a myth, it is not expensive at all. It is a DIY kind of a thing. You can get online. There are multiple ways of selling. You can sell through Facebook. You can sell through WhatsApp. You can sell through an Instagram. These are all free accounts. Or you can have your own website. And there are a lot of people, a lot of services. You can just go and set up your own website today. So this is the part of setting it up. Then reaching the consumers, it's not very expensive, especially if you are focused into what you are planning to do. And question is, what do you want to do? You want to have scale or you want to have reach and profitability? And if your focus area is your particular catchment area, now I'm specifically talking of the smaller enterprises. That's the area I worked in when I was in India also. It's not a very expensive thing. And only thing is knowing what to do and how to do and taking it forward. It's important to start experimentation, take the first step, and not be caught by surprise like most of these people, most of these businesses were.
But are you actually saying that it's as simple as saying, okay, I'm going to establish an Instagram or maybe Facebook would be, and I'm going to just advertise on that, and I can just follow the instructions on the Facebook platform, and find a way to get my product to whoever's wanting it in my area, and off we go.
Yes, conceptually, yes. I'll give you an example. One of the retailers just set up QR code outside his shop. He says, just order, scan the code and order. And so you're already catering to a customer. They are coming to your shops. You never knew who they were because you were just billing and just doing cash receipts.
Yes.
But now the moment somebody cannot come to your store and has already access to your store, for that, if you scan the QR code, you need to land somewhere. That's where a website comes in handy, or one of these accounts come in handy.
Yep.
But it's as simple as doing that. So it kind of reduces, normally people scan for customers on the internet. That is an expensive process, but all the local stores already have a customer base. It's about telling them that we are available digitally and this is how you get there. So conceptually, yes, it is that simple.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. That's actually very interesting, because I'd probably be part of the group that says, well, it's actually very complicated, but it's not. Listen, you alluded to something earlier in the conversation, and now I want to switch to much larger corporates, of which you have some experience. And you talked about the fact that the pandemic has accelerated the shift to digital, and very often the corporates have big plans, but they're 5 or 10 year plans, and now they're reduced to a few months. What is your advice to CEOs in that matter, right? If they want to really accelerate, because now their survival sort of depends on it, what would be your advice to them?
So I think acceleration now means a different thing. It has a different connotation. When we used to talk about digital acceleration, it meant more visibility in digital media. It meant more reach. It meant more clicks. Today, more than ever, it is about getting as much customer data as possible.
Right.
Because once you have the data, you can actually come to the second part, which is start predicting. Nobody could predict COVID, right? But once there is data, you can predict how the consumers would react, behave, or buy your products. So the shift is from visibility, click-throughs to acquisitions. So that's one big thing. And second thing is experiment, because there is no right or wrongs, and it's a very, very flexible, fluid, rapidly evolving field. Look what happened today. Everybody's pulled off ads from Facebook. Which means how are they going to reach their consumers? I'm sure there are new ways which would emerge. So experimentation is key, getting customer data is key, and then getting some predictability. There are plug and play machine learning tools available. You can feed in data and they can give you patterns in the data, which can be interpreted into what's going to happen. So I would, get it down to customer data, prediction, and experimentation.
That's fantastic. Anything else you would advise CEOs?
So secondly, I think I would say that we all talk about digital, and how we look at it is more from how much we are spending on digital and how much we are reaching on it. I think the conversations now need to somewhere shift on an ROI. That because business is scarce, profitability is much in demand. How can we get the maximum ROI? This whole concept will actually change the structure of digital eventually, from spending to getting return on investment. So this would be the second thing I would say.
Great. Listen, to close this off, you just recently started a new blog, which is called Zen and the Art of Everything Digital. Can you tell us just a little bit about the blog and what your objectives are? Why did you do that?
So the name I got inspired by a book I read many years back, which stayed with me, which is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yes.
And there's a line which I remember in it, which says, machine is more than the sum total of its parts, right? My concept is digital is more than the sum total of its parts, right? And it can create something bigger once you connect the parts together. The idea is to demystify and simplify digital.
Great.
because the moment you go online and you want to read about something, the resources are there, but then they need some interpretation. The idea is to answer the question, where do I even start?
Yes.
And to enable people, I'm just sharing my thoughts, right, from my experience, and trying to build a narrative around, let's say, if you want to go digital, what do you want to do? Is there a DIY kit available for you? If so, what is it and how does it work? So the idea is to enable businesses who don't have access to large resources and large pools of talent to start the thought process and go back to that this first phase of at least start the experimentation with digital. So just simplify and demystify digital. That's the objective.
That's fantastic. And what I'll do is I'll put a link to that blog with this video so that people can access that, because I think, certainly to me, this notion of demystifying and making it simple, helping people understand that they don't necessarily need to have years and years of experience to be able to start on this journey, I think is very, very critical at this point. Abhishek, again, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom. I hope that you're able to help a lot of people through the blog. And I hope that travel will come back soon so we can see each other face to face.
Thank you, Vince. As always, it is great speaking with you and sharing ideas, bouncing ideas. And I think that's lead to exponential ideas once you bounce them off. So yes, hope to see you soon.
Yes.
Once the travel is back.
Thank you very much.